No one could fully explain Beatlemania, but it never went away. Now comes the Beatles' long-awaited comeback on videotape and CD. So, let me introduce to you the act you've known for all these years.
In 1995, the Beatles Anthology was a global event.
But next week, the Fab Four will begin issuing 3 new CDs, previously unheard versions of the songs that were the soundtrack of a generation, plus a 6-hour worldwide TV show, plus 2 new singles.
It is both a record, a video, a television program, a book, and no doubt somewhere down the line it will also be a T-shirt.
Here they are, the Beatles!
And for many of us, it felt like the last great chapter in the Beatles story. Now, 30 years on, Anthology is back.
Can't buy me love.
But is this new edition a true upgrade, or just the same old story with a glossy new coat of paint? I'm Andrew from Parlogram, and in this video we'll take a detailed look at Anthology 2025, what's new, what's missing, and why fans' reactions are so divided. On August the 21st, Apple announced what we and many had predicted, the return of the Beatles Anthology. November 21st sees the release of a brand new box set of either 8 CDs or 12 LPs, containing the 3 original Anthology albums. But the big talking point from that set is Anthology 4, a brand new disc featuring 13 previously unreleased tracks. Then on November 26th comes the original TV documentary, fully restored in 4K with new stereo and surround mixes by Giles Martin, which will be streamed exclusively on Disney+. The highlight of that is a brand new episode 9, featuring unseen footage of Paul, George and Ringo filmed in the mid-1990s. So what's actually changed? Well, not that much. Unsurprisingly, given the time and cost involved in creating a whole new Anthology audio series, Apple have left the content of the 3 original albums intact. All of the tracks have been remastered, with some receiving subtle remixes using Peter Jackson's MAL software. I listened to all the albums on headphones and compared the original mixes with the new ones, and the differences between the two were significant. Everything is now louder, fuller, and overall more listenable for the headphone generation. The original mixes, particularly the mono and live tracks, have benefited the most from the remastering and have been made to sound fuller and wider, which I think was a good move. One of the biggest improvements is on That'll Be the Day and In Spite of All the Danger, which have been mixed into a kind of stereo sound, as have some of the other live TV tracks, such as All My Loving from The Ed Sullivan Show. Everything just sounds more modern, which I suppose was the aim of the game. Take a listen for yourself and let me know what you think. You can stream all the music except for the unreleased tracks on Anthology 4 on streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music right now. Now I hope that the sound on the CDs is not going to be brick-walled like some of the tracks on the Red and the Blue CDs were. The vinyl, which I believe is being pressed by Optimal in Germany, might be the best of the bunch audio-wise, but we'll only find out that in November. But the most significant upgrade so far is the new remix of Free as a Bird. The biggest difference here, of course, is John's voice, which although is still front and centre, feels warmer, more present, and more like he's in the room with the band, rather than in the bathroom down the hallway.
Free as a bird is the next best thing to being. Free as a bird. Free as a bird. It's the next best thing to being. Free as a bird.
The instruments and the backing vocals are now less congested, and you can actually hear subtle details in Paul, George and Ringo's contributions. For example, the drums are cleaner and less heavy-handed, giving the track more space to breathe. The guitar patterns and keyboards are also more noticeable. George's line at 2:25 has been changed from
Whatever happened to the life that we once knew?
to
Whatever happened to the love that we once knew?
although this had been done and released back in 2015 for the One Plus album. The fade-out is also different, with John's "turned out nice again" phrase being played forwards and backwards in the new mix. And to top it all off, it's 2 seconds longer than the 1995 mix. Of course, some purists prefer the original 1995 mix, and that's fair. But the consensus seems to be that the remix has given the song a fresh energy that works for both long-term fans like myself and new listeners discovering the Beatles today. But it's the new disc, Anthology 4, that has got everyone in the Beatles community talking the most. Out of the hundreds of hours of content in Apple's vaults, only 13 previously unreleased tracks have made it onto Anthology 4. So, what are they? And do they make this set worth buying? Let's go through them to see exactly what's included. First up, we have takes 12 and 13 of Tell Me Why. Usually when 2 takes are listed like here, you can be sure that the first one is a false start or breakdown, which I assume is the case here. Tell Me Why always seemed to me to be a song they struggled with in the studio, so it'll be interesting to hear them battling with it and how these takes differ from the released version. Matchbox was completed in 5 takes and featured a triple-tracked Ringo vocal. So take 1 as presented here is going to be raw and fairly close to the 1963 BBC recording we already have. There were some choice outtakes from Beatles for Sale on Anthology 1, so it's good to see another here in the form of takes 6 and 7 of Every Little Thing. The Beatles devoted an entire 3-hour session on September the 30th, 1964 to this song, which Mark Lewison describes in his Beatles recording sessions book as being a fun recording. Take 6 is a breakdown caused by Paul burping a vocal instead of singing it, and take 7 is complete but ends in uproarious laughter. By the help sessions, the Beatles would record the backing track first and then the vocals and overdubs on top. I Need You Take 1 is probably the basic track just without the overdubs. The Beatles overdub vocals onto take 6 of I've Just Seen a Face for the master, so it'll be interesting to see what, if any, differences there are with this take 3 compared to that. As it's such a simple song, I don't expect any major revelations here. In lieu of the box set, we're getting 2 tracks from Rubber Soul. First up is take 1 of In My Life, which was recorded during a 3-hour session on October the 18th, 1965. Only 2 complete takes of this song exist, this one and take 3, onto which the overdubs were added. Then we have version 1 of Nowhere Man. This initial version, recorded on October 21st, introduced the high register 3-part harmony by John, Paul and George, accompanied by an electric rhythm guitar. They left the song unfinished that evening, but came back the following day in a session that produced the master. Until now, nothing from that previous day's session has ever been released. Now there are 3 instrumental tracks on Anthology 4, She's Leaving Home, The Fool on the Hill and Hey Bulldog. Whether they contain any elements significantly different from the version I can create with my favourite stem-splitting tool, La La La, remains to be seen. Baby You're a Rich Man, which we recently featured on the channel, is included here in the forms of takes 11 and 12. As you'll know if you watched that video, this was recorded not at Abbey Road, but at Olympic Sound Studios in southwest London. Take 12 presented here, I believe, was the master backing track, So again, you could probably achieve that yourself with La La La. Take 11 must have been an incomplete or false start. All rehearsals of All You Need Is Love made during the day in the run-up to the BBC broadcast on June the 25th, 1967, were recorded, and one will be presented here. Take 19 of I Am the Walrus dates from September the 27th, 1967, and features 16 session musicians, comprising 8 violins, 4 cellos, a contrabass, clarinet, and 3 horns. Last but not least, there's the new remix of Real Love, which at the time of filming we've yet to hear. But if it's as good as Free as a Bird, I'll be happy. But that's it for Anthology 4. Slim pickings for seasoned fans, I'll agree. There could have been more, much more. There's no Carnival of Light, no Revolution 20, no Shea Stadium, and no Star Club. But could their absence signal that they might be coming later? Who knows? So given all that, what's the mood among Beatles fans about the Anthology 2025? On my channel poll, 80% of you clicked excited or neutral, with just 20% negative or frustrated. But around 90% of the comments left on that post were negative. So why the contradiction? Simple. People with strong frustrations are more likely to leave a comment, while casual or happy fans just click and move on. But there are genuine reasons for older fans to feel upset. After all, they've supported the Beatles for decades. They bought the books, VHS tapes, DVDs, and even laserdiscs of Anthology 30 years ago, and they're not getting the rare content they've been waiting for. Worse still, Anthology 4 isn't, at this point, being sold separately. So if you want those 13 tracks, you'll have to spend $120 on the CD set or $375 on the vinyl. For some, that feels like a blatant cash grab, to coin a well-used phrase. Meanwhile, younger or more casual fans are thrilled. For them, the real excitement is that the Anthology series is streaming on Disney+. They don't care about Carnival of Light or the Star Club. They just want an easy, modern way to watch the Beatles story. Also, younger people prefer to stream their music rather than buy physical product. And for Apple, streaming makes more financial sense than catering to the niche collector market. So the question is, will Apple's Disney Plus gamble cement the Beatles' legacy for new generations, or will it alienate the very fans who carried them this far? Well, Apple's strategy in 2025 is clear, and it might not be to your taste. They're not just targeting first-generation fans anymore. Their focus is now on survival. If the Beatles don't continually reintroduce themselves to young audiences, they risk fading into nostalgia rather than remaining part of living history. Apple recognizes that the primary Beatles audience is aging out, so their current focus is on making the Beatles easy to find and accessible to a new generation, and Disney Plus is the perfect platform for that. Peter Jackson's Get Back demonstrated that younger or more casual viewers will watch hours of Beatles footage if it's presented cinematically. The absence of the long-promised Rubber Soul box set is telling, as Apple continues to focus on the future and not on box sets for collectors. Also, physical sales are declining rapidly, so this seems less like a gift to collectors and more like a way to reintroduce the Beatles story ahead of bigger projects like the Sam Mendes Beatles films in 2028. That's also maybe why they avoid risky vault material like Carnival of Light or the Star Club recordings. They prefer to present a polished legacy rather than release something that could tarnish the Beatles' carefully protected image. And that's a shame. Back in the 60s, the Beatles were prepared to take risks and push boundaries. Hopefully, Apple's new CEO is brave enough to take some risks with their future releases. For newcomers, Anthology 2025 is a fantastic gateway into the Beatles story, just as it was for many back in 1995. For longtime fans and collectors like me, it's a mixed bag. Yes, there are a few gems on Anthology 4, but nowhere near the treasure trove that exists in the vaults. Anthology 2025 isn't revolutionary, it's evolutionary. It keeps the Beatles story alive and reaches new fans, which is Apple's true goal. I understand the importance of protecting the brand and preserving the legacy, but that shouldn't come at the expense of older fans. While it's great to have one major release for the masses each year, it should be complemented by a few smaller, more specialised projects for dedicated fans. And I don't just mean new ranges of merchandise. And if they want some ideas for those, they know where to find me. But what do you think about Anthology 2025? Do let me and everyone else know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to subscribe for more videos on this and other stories from Beatles history. But that's all for this one, so I'll say bye for now and thanks for watching.
Này, cái